Today we're learning how to use my favorite free music notation software, MuseScore. So if you've wondered how to get your music or songs on paper, I'll show you exactly how to do it today. I'm on a Mac, so while most things will be similar, the shortcuts I show you might be different if you use Windows. I have a link in the description that will bring you to a complete shortcut list for Mac and Windows, which is very handy to have. This tutorial is for MuseScore 4, and you'll only need your computer and maybe a pen and paper to take notes. I'm not a tech person, but I do know how to make a professional-looking piano score. To demonstrate MuseScore, I'll copy the first page or so of Tokatina by Dmitri Kabalevsky. I encourage you to do this along with me as we go. First, go to musescore.org and click Free Download. It should automatically begin downloading for you. Once it's finished, click to open and follow the installation instructions. Once everything is installed, open the program and you'll see this opening page. From here, create a brand new score, or you can open something you've already been working on. We'll make a new score, so click New and go to Keyboards, Piano. Then click the arrow to add that instrument to your score. From here, you can click Done and add all the necessary information once the document is open, or you can click Next to add more details before you start the document. So this is your main editing page. You see the palettes on the left, which you can click to expand. They don't show every palette available on this menu, so to see more options, click Add Palettes. Now, note that we can use a lot of the palette stuff faster with shortcuts, and I'll show you those as we go. Again, you can refer to the link in the description, which is a page that has all the shortcuts available for Mac and Windows. You can't memorize every single shortcut, but you'll find your favorites and it will save you a lot of time. Now that we have an open document, let's prepare our score. In general, you can double-click on any text to change it. There's no subtitle, so we'll delete that, and we need to add allegretto, change the time signature, and add a pickup measure. So to change the time signature, open the time signature palette by clicking the arrow, click the current time signature, and then click 2/4 time on the left. Now let's add a pickup measure. Right-click the first measure and select Measure Properties. From here, we need Actual. If we wanted a quarter note pickup bar, we would change the first number to 1. But in this case, we want an 8th note pickup, so keep the first number as 1 and then change the second number to 8. Click OK and we get a nice 8th note pickup measure. Finally, let's add the allegretto text. Whenever you add text, it needs to belong to an item on the page, like a note or a rest. I don't have any notes yet, but I can click on the rest in the treble clef, then go to the text palette and add whatever I need. I prefer the shortcut command T. Type your text, then go to Properties to change the font, size, alignment, or style. You can also click and hold the text, then move it around with your mouse, but remember that it's always connected to a rest or a note. So if I try to move the text to the middle of the page, it will automatically format strangely. I would need to cut this text from this rest and then copy it onto a new rest in the middle of the page. Now we're ready to add the notes. If you do this often and have access to a MIDI keyboard, you may want to research how to connect your MIDI keyboard to MuseScore because you can input notes directly by just playing the keys. But I want to show you how to do everything with just your computer today. There are a couple of ways that you can input notes, but I'm going to show you what I think is the best and definitely the fastest way without a MIDI keyboard. Look at the note values at the top. This is where you select your desired note value for each note that you enter. You can manually click the note value that you want, but a faster way is to use the numbers on your keypad as shortcuts. When you type a 4, it gives you an eighth note value. A 5 is a quarter note, 6 is a half, and 7 is a whole note value. The dotted quarter note, which you can get by clicking the period, represents all dots. For example, if you needed a dotted quarter note, type 5 for a quarter note plus the dot. If you needed a dotted half note, it's 6 plus the dot. Using a keypad for this is easiest for me, although the regular numbers will also work. When you're ready to input notes, press N and you'll be in input mode. Be careful because when you're in this mode, anytime you click on your screen, it'll think you're trying to place a note somewhere. So let's enter the left-hand notes in the first measure. Before entering anything, click on the exact beat and staff to which you want to add the note. So, click on the eighth rest in the bass clef, type N, click 4 for an eighth note, and now type the letter E to create your first note. If the E appears in the wrong octave, click Command and arrow up or down to change. Next, we want a dotted quarter note. When you use this input method, you don't have to move your hands back and forth from your keyboard to your mouse, which is why it's the fastest way to do this. Just type 5 for quarter note, plus the period for the dot, and type the letter A. Again, if it goes to the wrong octave, use Command, arrow up or down. Finally, we need an eighth note, so type 4, then C. So now I can do this input method without even thinking, and it's very quick for me, but it did take a little practice. Looking at the right hand, it begins with an eighth rest. So click on that second measure in the treble clef, enter note input mode by typing N, then use the 4 shortcut to get the eighth note value. For a rest, rather than typing a letter name, we're going to type 0. Next is the eighth note chord, and we still have the eighth note value selected, so we don't have to type another number. So start from the bottom note and type C. Now from here, you can't just type E and A because it doesn't know that you want to stack the notes, and it will place those notes on the following beats. The easiest way to input the rest of the chord is to press and hold the Shift key as you type the E and A. When you're ready to move to the next chord, just let go of the Shift key and type the next note on the bottom. For dynamic marks, click on the note or rest above where you want it. Remember, all text and expression marks are attached to a note or a rest. The expression marks automatically go below the attached item. Now go to your Dynamics palette and choose the piano option. From here, click and hold the dynamic mark to move it exactly where you want it. Now to add the cantando text, click on the note above, then use Option E, which is the shortcut for adding an expression, and type cantando. Now we need a slur. Highlight all the notes that you want in the slur by clicking the first note, then hold Shift and click the last note of the slur. Simply type S and your slur will appear. If you need to change the slur over or under, click on the slur, type X, and it will change. If you ever forget the slur shortcut, all articulations are in your articulations palette. Let's add the staccato marks. Select all the staccato notes by clicking the first note, hold Shift, and click the last note that should be staccato. And now just click Shift S to make the highlighted notes staccato. Or of course you can go to the articulations palette and click the staccato mark there. To add fingering, click on the note, and of course make sure you're not in note input mode. From here, go to the fingering palette on the left, open it up, and click on the first set of numbers 1 to 5. The other numbers are for guitar and strings, and so they'll look a little different in your score. This is a very slow process, especially if you need a lot of fingering like I did for this 44-page scale variation chart. A faster way is to use the shortcut Control-Command-F. It opens a text box to type a finger number, and then press the space bar to automatically move to the next note without clicking on it. If you need a chord with multiple finger numbers, hit return and the cursor will go down. Let's look at other items required for the rest of the page. In measure 5, there's a crescendo mark that lasts until measure 6. So select all those measures in the treble clef because expression marks are always placed under our selection. And now that it's selected, use Shift, comma, otherwise known as the less than symbol. And to create a diminuendo, it's the same, Shift, period, or greater than symbol. If you forget these shortcuts, you can find these symbols in the Dynamics or Lines palette. Let's enter measure 19. Click on the measure you want to work on, then N for note input mode, shortcut 5 for quarter note value, plus period for the dot, and now minus for the flat shortcut. And now you're ready to type E. Now type 4 for an eighth note and F. And let's type N again so we come out of note input mode and can freely click on our screen. For the right hand with all of the flats, click on that treble clef measure, then N for note input, 4 for eighth note value, and 0 to add that first rest. Then for the notes, minus for the flat, and type G. For the rest of the chord, type minus again, and now hold Shift and B, minus, hold Shift again, then E, and finally N to leave note input. The concept is the same for sharp and natural notes. The sharp shortcut is the plus sign, and the natural is the equals. Once everything is entered, the score might not look how you want it to, so let's look at some formatting options from general to very specific. First, go to Format and click on Style. You'll see different options for the general look of your score here. The one I use the most is Page. If you change these numbers, you'll get more or less spacing in between the systems, staves, or grand staves. The other one I use quite a bit is under Format, then Page Settings. If you change this scaling number, it will make everything larger or smaller. Personally, I like going on the smaller side because it looks more professional. If you want to make the beams connect like they do in our example score, go to Add Palettes, click the plus on Beam Properties, then highlight the notes you want beamed together. Go over to the Beam Properties palette, then click the third one to connect them all. Now let's say that after this measure, you want a line break, but it's just not doing it automatically. All you need to do is click on the measure you want to be last on a line, then hit return, and it will give you a line break. If you want a more organic approach to the lines, but definitely want more or less space in between the notes, highlight the section you want altered, then go to Format, Stretch. If you want more space above or below a specific line, go to the Layout palette, then drag and drop one of these elements to the measure you want to alter. For example, this one with the arrow up will give you more space above a staff. Simply drag and drop, then click on the arrow and pull to drag up. To make an element invisible, click on the element and type V. To make all of an element invisible, right-click on that element, then select and similar. That will highlight all of the same element, and now you can click V to hide them all. To delete measures from your score, you can't just select them and press delete. That will just delete the notes if there were any. To remove measures, highlight them, then click Command Delete. To add measures, you can add to the beginning of the score, end of the score, or before or after whatever you've highlighted. So go to Add, Measures, then Insert at Start or End of Score. To add measures in the middle of your music, select a measure, then Add, Measures, then Insert before or after selection. Adding lyrics is different than adding text. Click on the note where you want the first word to begin, then click Command L, or go to Add, Text, then Lyrics. Type the word or syllable and go to the next note by hitting the spacebar. If you have multiple verses, click on the first note again and hit Command L. It will automatically go to the next line so you can add the lyrics like you did before. I recommend always using the playback feature, as listening to your writing can catch many errors. Typically, the playback controls are at the top right of your screen, and if you want to move them around, click on the 6 dots and drag to your desired position. To listen back, click on the spot where you want to start, then hit the space bar. This is where you can change the tempo and other things that you can explore on your own. Whenever you want to stop, hit the space bar again. If you ever need to transpose your music, select the desired section or click Command A to select everything, then go to Tools, then Transpose. You can transpose to another key up or down, or you can transpose by interval up or down. Finally, here are some other helpful things to know. As pianists, we know that a lot of music tends to repeat itself. You can save a lot of time by highlighting the note or section that repeats, copy it by hitting Command C, or right-click and choose Copy. Then you can paste that by first selecting where you want it to go, then hitting Command V, or right-clicking again and choosing Paste. If you want to change a note quickly, click on it, making sure that you're not in no input mode, then type in the letter that you want to change it to. And then remember to hit N again afterwards to leave no input mode. Or you can use the arrow keys to move the note up or down by step. And of course, everybody's favorite tool, the undo button or Command Z is essential when notating music. When you've completed your score, I highly recommend printing it out. This helps you catch mistakes and evaluate whether you like the size and the formatting. There are many more elements and functions of MuseScore, like grace notes, cue notes, trills, pedal marks, but we just don't have the time to go through everything today. But now you know how it mostly works and you have the tools to figure it out. I hope this tutorial was helpful. To get really fast at using this program, it's like everything else. You gotta use it and use it often. If you run into questions and can't find answers online, please let me know and I'll try to help, or maybe someone else reading your comment might be able to help. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll return to your regular piano-specific videos next time.